I've been putting this off for a while now, thinking that I'm gonna make a lot of animations for this, but I know I'll never get around to that. So I listen to a lot of Sargon of Akkad, Armored Skeptic, Shoe on Head. They argue really well, but more often than not, they don't know what they're talking about, especially when it comes to Islam. And they'll admit that in their videos that they don't know enough about Islam to criticize it well enough. So actually, I wanted to start criticizing it myself from an Eastern perspective. One of the things that you have to understand about Islam is that there are many different interpretations of Islam everywhere. The Middle East isn't just one big blob of Islam. The Syrians have a different kind of Islam, the Iraqis have a different interpretation of it, the Pakistanis have a different interpretation of it. One of the things that frustrates me to no end is that Westerners feel so easy when they criticize Christianity, but when it comes to Islam, for some strange reason, they lose all their faculties of reasoning and just devolve down to, well, Islam must be good then. Or especially when it comes to feminism, why do they actually accept Islam so much when it's completely against females? This doesn't mean that Muslims don't support rights for females. Islam and Muslims are two different things. We need to understand that. Muslims are generally good people. However, Islam as a religion is excessively backwards. One thing to remember is that Muslims are not extremists or terrorists. Not, well, most of them just have normal lives. I have a class of, I think, 11 students. Out of them, only two people are observing fasting. Muslims are not terrorists. However, Islam as a religion creates them into terrorists. Muslims don't Muslims by their actions perpetuate terrorism. They create it because even though they don't want to be terrorists, Islam has a certain philosophy that forces them to be extremely xenophobic towards other cultures and other people. To make you understand what this philosophy is, think of it this way. A Muslim believes that the Quran is correct. It is absolutely correct. Nothing in it can be incorrect. The same is true for all the actions of the Holy Prophet. Since all of them are correct, if a Muslim becomes convinced that the Quran says that terrorism is okay, then he will commit terrorism. In such a way, everyone is raised to believe that Islam will and must be correct. And in doing so, they perpetuate terrorism because some of them end up becoming terrorists because the Quran can never be wrong and somebody convinces them that terrorism is okay. Again, this is not about Muslims. It's more about Islam. The idea that Islam can never be wrong. That idea at its core is what creates these extremists. So whenever you talk to a Muslim, try to ask them that if Islam can ever be incorrect. If they say no, then you already know that they're perpetuating an idea of terrorism. They themselves might not be terrorists, but somebody convinced that the Quran and Islam are correct has the absolute potential to be a terrorist. It's like the social justice warriors or feminism. They believe they're absolutely correct and there is no room for doubt. If there is no room for doubt, then the other person must be incorrect. They lack the tolerance to accept other beliefs. They simply don't want to accept that something else, some other belief could be correct in any way, shape, or form. Muslims have what I call willful ignorance. They make themselves ignorant by saying and repeating that that Islam is correct, that it can never be wrong. Even if they are unwilling to admit it, they perpetuate an idea of extremism and intolerance through their willful ignorance. Their desire for Islam to be perpetually correct is what creates this. They allow themselves to be lied to, and then they refuse other points of view because they believe Islam is the only thing that can be correct, and if any opposing point of view is expressed, it has to be incorrect. And another thing that I would like to add is the liberals in Muslim countries. Most of the time, the liberals are forced to argue from the perspective of Islam. We have to talk about ayahs and surahs and try to explain that core Muslim philosophy is liberal, because what we cannot argue is through humanism or any other ideal for it to actually be true, because over here the only thing that people are going to listen to is if you tell them that the Quran says it. Otherwise, it is untrue and it is un-Islamic, and therefore it should be exterminated. Now, I want to make a lot more videos to explain so many things. I want to explain basic contradictions in the Quran. I want to explain the Hudud ordinance, which I am so surprised nobody has mentioned. I want to explain why the liberals in the East, we still blame America for a lot of our problems, why Eastern perspectives on Western issues are ignored. I love video games. I would like to even talk about that. Even you guys should tell me what I should explain more, because I don't exactly understand what you guys don't understand about Islam, because maybe we have always been living here and we have always seen just how horrible things are and how horrible things can get. Muslims just deny it. They literally just deny that there is a problem, that there is a problem of ex-Muslims being extradited from society, completely shut off, that there is an issue at all about non-Muslims leaving all Muslim societies behind. It's just, it baffles me. I just don't understand what the West is doing about Islam. I guess I just want to try to, and help you guys understand that this needs to be stopped. You guys need to stop Islam. Most of this was off the cuff, so I understand that some places it's not exactly as flowy as it should be. If this helps even one more person understand certain issues that Islam has, then I have done what I intended to do. I just hope that somebody actually bothers listening to this and to just try and understand how big of an issue Islam can get if you let it survive, because Muslims will not believe that Islam can be incorrect.